What's up, guys? It's McNulty here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. And it seems like we have another episode of Looney Tunes today. We have 5 brand new Toon costumes available in the costume chamber for the first time ever. And one of these Toon costumes is absolutely massive, but we're going to have a look through them today, and we're going to see whether these heroes are worth pulling for. I always think the costume chamber is pretty worth pulling for in any case, but you know what? We've got to see whether these heroes are a little bit ahead of the curve, and I do think that we do have some extremely good ones in here. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the newest 5-star hero, which is our lovely angry looking Khagan. So he has got a Toon costume, and this is the monster I was talking about. So starting off, we know that Khagan is a fire hero. He is of the ranger class as well, which gives him the chance to bypass defensive buffs. In fact, he benefits from the superior pierce, which gives him a 60% chance to bypass those buffs, including counterattacks. And if the buffs are bypassed, the target's going to receive 396 bleed damage over 3 turns as well. So that is really awesome that he benefits from that talent. He also benefits from the classic family bonus. So as we know, if you've got 2 or more heroes, you get an increase on attack, defense, and healing. And this goes very well with the costume bonus because they get an attack bonus of 40%, defense of 40%, a massive health bonus of 65%, and a mana bonus of 5%. So all of those things combined make him already a pretty decent hero. And then if we move on to the horrible Toon passive, which we all know and hate, it's a 75% chance to resist status ailments, mana reductions, and buff dispels, which just seems unfair. If you've ever been up against these heroes, and I'm sure that many of you will have been, in both the raids and the wars, it's just really, really frustrating that nothing sticks on them. And I think that being at 75%, and I've said this before, I think it's too high. But anyways, that's what we've got, so that's what we've got to deal with. Now, in terms of his Toon costume, he now has a special called the Toon's Order. And he's, of course, running at slow speed. So we compare that. It's Khan's Order, so the Toon's Order, I guess. And his stats we're looking at, if we just switch off the max power preview, over 1,000, easily 1,061 on the team power. So really good stats. The only saving grace you've got is that his defense is not very good. But otherwise, his stats are bonkers. Now, he is going to be dealing, if you just look at his special, a whopping 530% damage to the target and nearby, which is probably the highest hit 3 that we've seen from any sort of hero in this game. If you take that combined with his already humongous attack stat, he is going to be able to pretty much one-shot 3 heroes. And then the caster and nearby allies get 12% increase on their mana generation for 5 turns. And the caster and nearby allies get 51% defense for 5 turns. And if that wasn't enough, he's going to deal extra damage against nature, which is exactly the element that you want him to be dealing that extra damage against. So that increase from his original special from 380% up to 530, it's like 150% extra damage that he's going to be doing to the target nearby. Yes, he does get a reduction on the mana generation increase, and he does get a slight reduction on the defense increase as well. But that being said, that's not really why you take this guy into your attacking teams. You take him for some pretty hefty damage. And I can see this guy shining in a few different areas. Obviously, Rush, he's going to be an absolute superstar in Rush. And also in the events as well. So where you need a really hard hitter, we've seen Colin being used quite a lot. And some people are still using, what's his name? Khufu. Some people are still using Khufu, but his chain is really broken at the moment. And I'm a bit upset about that, to be fair, because I just got him recently. But this guy is going to do the job better than anybody else at the moment. With that massive hit, he is going to be your key. I can see him at the top of the leaderboards for events already. And just an absolutely insane hero. So if you do manage to grab Khagan, congratulations. He's going to he's going to cause some serious havoc. So yeah, I'm a massive fan of this Toon costume in case you can't already tell. But that is it for Khagan. So let's go ahead and we'll see who else we've got. We have got a Toon costume for Kelile. So we're not going to go over all of the stats and things like that. She is of the rogue class, so she gets a chance to dodge. And of course, she gets the superior evade, which is a 30% chance to dodge. And then if the damage was dodged, the character and the nearby allies get an increased chance to dodge special skills for 3 turns. So that is a good talent for her. She benefits from the attack up on the ether talent, which is also pretty damn good. And her hit is going to be 325% damage to the target. So her original was 320. So a very minimal increase compared to what we've just looked at. And the target used to receive 582 burn damage over 6 turns. That's now been reduced to 258 burn damage over 3 turns. And deals extra damage against nature. So, I mean, if you compare her against what we've just looked at with Khagan, it just seems like she's been done a dirty. It's not fair. Kelile needs some love. In terms of which costume I think is most effective, I don't really think this Toon costume is going to be quite as effective, except for maybe in terms of the passive and the stat boost. But I really do like this costume, her secondary costume, where she's going to be dealing that even amount of damage to the target and nearby. And then she heals based on the burn damage they receive over the following 3 turns. So I think if you do pull the Toon costume for Kelile, I'll probably end up using this version most of all. And that is pretty much it on her. And then if I go out and back in just to save myself some time and save you guys some massive aggravation, we have a costume for my #1 pick for the epic Dark Heroes, which is my man Cyprian. I again don't think that you are going to end up using this version of him, but just for the stat boost, it's absolutely insane. So let's go ahead and we'll have a look at what he does. First of all, he is of the Paladin class. So again, superior talents wise, he's going to get superior protect. So that means that if he receives any damage by the end of the enemy turn, it's a 50% chance to activate, 25% defense for 2 turns, and a 10% health recovery for the caster and nearby allies. It's a pretty good effect, but again, like I said, you're going to hardly ever end up using this costume version of Cyprian, I think. Now, moving on to his special, it's Toon-tastic Riposte. Just a great sounding name. So the caster and nearby will counterattack with 125% of the damage they receive for 5 turns. This is exactly the same as the original, except that there is an additional effect. So the status effect is undispellable and lasts for 2 turns longer on dark characters. So that means that if you are putting him up with next to a couple of dark characters, it's not just a 5-turn counterattack, it's a 7-turn counterattack, and it's an undispellable counterattack. And that sounds absolutely horrible. I really hate the sound of that. And to be honest, I think he could be quite usable on defensive teams, not necessarily in his second costume, which, as we know, is the best version of him, but also in this version as well. You are not going to be able to benefit from the damage reduction and the mana generation on the counterattack, but what you are going to get is that huge passive with a chance to resist status elements, mana reductions, and buff dispels, and he's going to make the counterattack undispellable as well. So yeah, in summary, this guy is going to be a beast. I can't think of how you're going to actually be able to deal with him. I think that you're probably going to need a buff block, and then the problem is with the buff block, it's going to be difficult to stick it on him. So yeah, he's going to be pretty difficult to deal with and a pretty decent hero. Obviously, it's worth having a look at this version because you're going to get a stat boost for this part of Cyprian as well, or this costume for Cyprian. Which is the best one, because the caster and nearby allies counterattack with 80% of damage for 4 turns, but they regenerate a moderate amount of mana for each of those counterattacks, and they get defense reduction or damage reduction by 35% for the duration of the counterattack as well. So I'm hard pressed to be fair. I'm hard pressed to choose between these two. I think that probably on attack, I will still end up using this version of Cyprian. But maybe on defense, the Toon version is just going to win out because he's just going to be so frustrating. I mean, an undispellable counterattack is pretty much unheard of until now. So that's probably enough said about Cyprian, who is our second featured 4-star. And then we have 2 brand new 3-stars. I wonder if it's going to be quicker for me to do it like this or not. Let's see. How long is this going to take? 1,000,000 years. Sorry, guys. We will get there eventually. Or maybe not. Wow, there's a lot of costumes. There's not that many toons that haven't actually come out yet, to be fair. I think we're pretty much there on all of them. Okay, so we have got Graymane and we've got Belith. You know what? I don't think I'm gonna be as excited about Graymane. Let's do him first. So Graymane, what can we say? So let's have a little look. So he does get a superior talent as well. It's superior delay. So if he's hit, if this character dealt any damage by the end of its turn, it's a 60% chance to drop the mana generation of the target by 50% for 2 turns. This can actually work really well as a defensive skill. So it can make him usable in a pinch, but then his special is generally not very good. So he does benefit from the same family and the same costume bonuses, and of course he gets the annoying Toon passive as well. His special is at average speed and it's called Toon Bite. So it's a 255% damage to the target and heals the caster for 45% of the damage dealt and deals extra damage against fire. I mean, it's an increase on the damage, it's a decrease on the healing, but other than that, I really don't like this hero. I just think he's probably a waste of time, even if you do manage to pull the Toon costume. So let me know if you guys think any different, but for me, this guy is not a very good hero at all. And then we have Brienne. No, not Brienne. We've got Belith, sorry. She actually looks pretty cool as a Toon. Yeah, I wasn't expecting anything, but yeah, I kind of like it. Anyway, so Belith is going to get the Druid talent, which is now the superior companion. And this has been nerfed, unfortunately. So for all heroes, this is worse than it was. So they get a chance, 20% chance to summon a Thorn minion with 20% health and 20% attack. I think probably at the 3-star level, that's a bit more effective than it is at the 4 stars now. So it can still be usable, but probably now is one of the worst talents that we have, unfortunately. And her special is Toon Mist. So now she recovers 38% health for all allies. All allies get 34% increased defense for 3 turns. Now, for all nature characters, the status effect becomes undispellable. There's that horrible word again. Undispellable, and lasts for 2 turns longer. So as part of a nature attack team, and there are some really good 3-stars in nature, especially for tournaments and for events and things like that, she's going to be a beast. And remember, we've got Costume Brienne, who gives that attack up, which is undispellable as well. So I can see some pretty good combinations being used here. And she dispels the buffs from all enemies. So this is compared to a 32% health recovery and a dispel from all enemies. So a much bigger health recovery, the increased defense, which can become undispellable if you have other nature characters on the team, and the dispel of buffs from all enemies. She's still one of the best healers at the 3-star level, and now with this stat boost and the passive, it makes her that much better. So I'm a massive fan of Belith, much better 3-star than we saw in Graymane. And that just about does it for our Toon lineup. So we do also have Costume Toon Richard, who's featured as well with his Toon Hammer. And he does I was going to swear there. He does a lot of damage as well. So 565 damage to the target and minor to nearby. It is a lot for a guy that's running at average speed, and I've been hit by him a couple of times since his toons come out, and it does hurt. But yeah, he's a pretty good featured hero, but I don't think that anyone can even come close to the mega destruction that we're seeing from Khagan. at the moment. So yeah, congratulations if you do manage to grab this guy. I think he's going to be an absolute monster. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comments on these new toons that we have in the portal. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on where you're going to use him and if you do manage to grab him. And also, please do drop us a like and subscribe to the channel. And that's about it, guys. That's all, folks. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye for now.